being in grade school and having nothing but time before the first bell. Now, at that time, I didn't really know what that meant, but I used that time for myself to foresee how I wanted my day to go. I knew it was significant. I can also recall the time I overheard some teachers discussing why there should be a need to have prayer before the day gets started. Dumbfounded was the look I expressed. You can't have prayer? In this speech, we'll look at prayer in school, reasons for its banishment, and a useful course of action. So according to an article, The Importance of School Prayer, prayers have a power of creating a religious atmosphere that helps instill certain values, such as humility and discipline. This helps the school children realize the essence of the ethical values. Prayers in school encourage the students to believe in the value system of the school and follow it. Now, that is a mouthful, but it couldn't be more accurate. Prayer allows for optimism, gratitude, patience, and focus. No matter your beliefs or your religious views, taking a moment to recollect your thoughts and give praise shouldn't come with negative connotations. So, prayer in school looks to be a positive. So what changed? Why the banishment? So, the reason for the banishment was a court case, Engel versus Vitale, 1962. It was a case that caused prayer to be banned in school. There are some cases after that, but this was the main one that caused the ban. In 1955, the New York Board of Regents developed a relatively short prayer recommended, but it wasn't required, for the school board districts. The board stated that the prayer would combat juvenile delinquency and counter the spread of communism. Parents argued that it constituted the state-sponsored establishment of religion in violation of citizens' First Amendment via the 14th Amendment. Now, we all know the First Amendment is freedom of speech. But this played off of the Establishment Clause, which separated state and church. Now, if you're anything like me, that doesn't make any sense. Do churches pay taxes? Yes. No, they don't. So it sounds like no separation of church and state to me. Before politicians take their seats, what must happen? They must give an oath. Sounds like no separation of church and state. So why the big reason for the separation of church and state when it comes to schools? The biggest takeaway I have for this case is that it made the Regent's Prayer mandatory for all students, regardless of their religious preference. And that is also why I can see where the problem lies. So we've summarized prayer in school, the reasons why it is banished. What can we do about it? So the solution to both sides, if you're for or if you're against, there is a guidance on constitutionally protected prayer and religious expressions. And that states that students may pray when not engaged in school activities. They may organize prayer groups. Student assemblies and non-curricular events can have prayer. You can pray at your graduation. If a school does have a moment of silence or other quiet periods during the school day, students are free to pray silently or not to pray during these periods of time. Teachers and other school employees, they may not require, they may not encourage or discourage students from praying during times of that moment of silence or a moment of reflection. Also, not making anything mandatory would certainly fix the issue. Prayer only helps. We know that it goes against school policy for teachers to direct prayer in class. So why is there still a reason as to why? In conclusion, we've summarized prayer in school, reasons why it's banished, and what can be done about it. Prayers are a good source of passing the morals and values to the student. You might be for, you might be against, but prayer not allowed in school 70 plus years with no legitimate reasoning is preposterous, especially when the separation of state and church is not as direct as it says. If you feel like this is a problem, all we have to do is rise up and speak on it. If all of our voices are heard, there's certainly going to be some progress into changing no prayer at school. Thank you guys for listening.